yoga is comprises of these different blocks. So from the historic perspective or historic telescope, if you may say, so these are the general periods that are defined in the yoga. Okay, so there is distinctly pre-classical, classical, post-classical, modern, and before that Vedic Upanishadic period, and before that also Vedic period. Okay, so I went that way because classical is the period where we say is the Patanjali Yoga Sutras. Okay, so if you may say, like, classical is that middle block, and before that you have pre-classical, Upanishadic, Vedic period, and then post-classical wherein Hatha Yoga and other things came, and then the modern yoga, which is the generally what we practice today, right? So from a historic perspective, early archaeological evidences have been found in the region of Harappan Mohenjo-daro civilization dating back to around 3500 BC in these geographies, that is northern India, Pakistan, Hindu Kush mountain region, in these areas that is shown here, right? So this is the lot of archaeological evidences have been found through this civilization, which is, of course, we have learned all this in the school, which is the origin of the Vedic civilization, right? Or rather the Indus Valley civilization, right? So, of course, these are not from the exam point of view, but general knowledge point of view, that during that time, there are evidences of early civilization where irrigated agriculture and certain cereals like wheat, barley, peas, mustard, cotton, etc. and were grown, and also metals such as gold, silver, copper were in use. And it consisted of more than 100 towns and villages. Now, this is very interesting, right? And I think a few pictures of this is also there in the guidebook as well. So there are specific postures that have been found in these from this era of civilization, right? In these geographies. So if you can see, like, you know, he's sort of sitting like in a specific posture, sitting posture there, right? Like an asana. And same way here, like if you see, right? I mean, see these different postures here, right? So these are all the fossil or the evidences that have been found from these civilization and terracotta figurine and yoga postures. So the key point here is to note that it is not a modern invention, but has been existing since the time of the Indus Valley civilization, more than 3500 dated, but God knows from where in the Sanskrit, this thing you will call it as yogas and all that, right? So it may be even prior to all of that, right? So of course, this is interesting, again, not from the exam point of view, but from the different theory point of view, which a lot of different narratives come in when we say yoga and the origins of yoga, right? Whether it is Aryan, Dravidian, North Indian, South Indian, invasion, whether it came from the colonials. There are some theories and papers also published like this, right? And what are the, you know, research-based evidence for yoga existing and all those things. So the answer to all that is to have an empirical research and then go through the scriptures, literature, and then find any of the evidences like how it is quoted above, right? So now here, this is important from the exam point of view. The root word of Veda is derived from the root word called Vid, and Veda is knowledge. Vid means to know, to obtain, or to be. Now, this is, I think, one of the common questions from the exam point of view. So they'll give multiple choice questions asking maybe giving these three and something else, right? Or, you know, something like that. So one of the important aspect is that it is a Paurusheya, which means it is revealed. So there is no specific author for yoga, for Veda. Okay, and this is again which may come from the exam point of view also, right? And it is a Shruti and Smriti. One is Shruti, oral tradition, coming from the recitation, from the, you know, from recitation to recitation you remember, and also Smriti, which you remember. And Ananta Vaidhi Vedaha. Vedas are endless, okay? So these three are the sort of characteristics of the Vedas. And definitely some question will come both for L1 and L2 on the root word or the what is the meaning, and is it aparusheya or what is aparusheya, and shruti and smriti also something like that will come. Okay. And this is again a classification. This also is very important, and this is there again in the textbook a little more detail than what I'm going to say now. The yogas generally, of course, the 4 Vedas are there: Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Samaveda, Atharva Veda, and Rig Veda is the largest one. And within Vedas, you have Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyaka, and Upanishad. Okay, so this what is Samhita, what is Brahmana, what is Aranyaka, what is Upanishad, again is there in the textbook, and you need to know at least one liner of different specialities of each of these characteristics of Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyaka, and Upanishad. Okay, and again monotheism, monism, polytheism, henotheism. I am not going into detail of all of this, but generally I think in the textbook what they mentioned is monotheism, which means one God or one belief in one God, right? So one important thing, like what is Vedas after all? It is seeking the truth. Okay, and it consists of yajna, continuous cosmic exchange, and finding the divinity in each one of us, and oneness with the spiritual, oneness with the cosmos, and of course the philosophy of karma and the rebirth. Okay, so these are the key concepts in the Vedas. And yeah, I have not dwelt much deeper into this Nasadiya Suktam. Apparently, this is one of the beautiful texts that is there. I think it is from the Rig Veda, Nasadiya Suktam. You may want to make a notes if at some point in time you're interested. You can have a read of this as well. So importance of karmas are there in the Vedas, and there are nitya karma, occasional naimittika karma, kamya, optional karmas, yajnas, and various kinds of sacrifices, and aspects of yajna puja, which includes the omkara, asana, pranayama, mantra, dhyana, and the aikyam, oneness with the universe, right? So this is in brief. I will go to the next. Yeah, so our ancient, seers or rishis were really, it was very advanced state of being, I can say, where they were pondering on all these questions like, who am I? Where have I come from? What am I going to do? What is the purpose really of my life? And how can I get there? And these are the fundamental questions that they were asking. And there are different answers to that coming from the Upanishads. So here again, since I have not made this text and may not be most relevant from the exam point of view, but a lot of work or a lot of interesting quotations are given in this particular PPT from Aurobindo's Savitri, and mostly from Aurobindo, right? So one of the so again, coming back to the revising this fact, what is Veda again? To be, to know, and to obtain. Knowledge is to be obtained on what you have to be. And I thought this is an interesting slide again to understand what Vedic alchemy was. The base metal, they did have gold, and undivine mortality, divine immortality was their belief, and man is a divine being. Okay, so that is what they believed in. And this may be just knowledge sake, what is the origin of the asatoma, sadgamaya, and all that. So you may need to know it is coming from the Brihadakaranya Upanishad. Okay, and so I will come back to this one, but for now you can, understand that base for all the philosophy, the Shad Darshanas, coming from the dukkha. Okay, so it is like, what is the cause of the suffering, right? And what is the dukkha really, right? So dukkha can be adibhautika, adidhaivika, and adhyatmika. Okay, it can be material, occult, or spiritual. So when we chant Om Shanti 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 Hi, for each Shanti, it is saying peace for each of these different kinds of the dukkhas. Okay, so basic, when when you're born in this earth, you cannot escape this dukkha. Okay, there is, you have to go through this. So each of the darshanas or the Vedas, which is, sorry, the darshanas which are derived from the Upanishads and the Vedas, are defining a path on how do we what is a jiva swarupa, what is a jagat swarupa, what is the dukkha, how can I get rid of this dukkha, what is the way, and what is the way path to the moksha, and is there an ishvara or no ishvara, right? I think this was very nicely explained when in the Srinivas Palluriji's lecture as well, so if you may want to refer that as that also. Okay, so basic interpretation is around these, around why suffering, what is the mechanism to get rid of this suffering, what is the path for the moksha, right? I'll skip all this because this may not be relevant for us. So I'll come back to this. Okay, just as a this I'll just share this because it's interesting. So what Vedas and Upanishads were saying, life has three images. One is a battle, it is a sacrifice, it is a journey. Okay, I really found this very nice because you once you're born, all these three is definitely going to be there, right? So a sacrifice, a conscious inner offering to the higher forces, Agni, and the divine will, a battle between the devas and the dasyus. You don't have to think it is an external battle, maybe within us as well, right? What is right, what is wrong, what I have to do, what I should not do, how I should do, whether this is correct, that is correct. We are always constantly in that battle within ourselves as well. And it's, of course, a journey, journey of a man's quest to his inner consciousness, right? So I really like this summary where life is nothing but these three images, and this is what they were interpreting it as. Okay, so now I will come to the session 4. Yeah. So again, we come back to this, revisit this definition, and now we come to the Upanishadic period of the historic lens, right? We are here now, okay? And here, what do we say? As we saw, Upanishad is one of the angas in the Veda, and this every Upanishad will have these, different. Every Veda will have different Upanishad against it. Okay, so here the emergence of a new, new psyche referred to as metaphysical vision, and not a lot of drastic difference in the thought process from the Vedas to the Upanishads, but I think it was a little bit of an evolution, if you may call, right? And then I think parallelly there emerged other traditions like Jainism and Buddhism also during the time of the post-classical period, right? And so this is the sort of definition which is saying about the Brahmanas and, Aranyakas and what they mean in different things. It is not in so much detail in the textbook, but the text, your guidebook says in brief what are the 4 angas and what it means, like Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyaka, Upanishad, right? So again, they will ask twisted question here, okay? We Upanishad and Vedanta is the same. Vedanta means end of the Upanishad. It is the same. So they will not ask like, what is Atma and Jivatma is explained in Vedas, Vedantas. They'll give choice like that. Okay. So they'll not ask directly Upanishad. So they may give choice like Vedantas. So you need to know it is also the Upanishads. Okay. And yeah, so as I said, each of the Vedas will have the Upanishads. So these are the main Upanishads. There are 108 Upanishads, and generally considered 10 are very, very, what do you say, important Upanishads, and these are listed here. And I'll show you another notes which I made on the summary of, with respect to yoga, what are the important Upanishads, right? So as I said, these are the principal Upanishads, and the additional ones are Shvetashvara, Kaushike, Maitrayana. So these are the principal Upanishads that is there. So in this respect, what you need to know from the exam point of view is, they will ask, like, I'll just open my another notes in the middle. Just be with me. Not this one. Yeah. I can share this also. I'll add the link of this in the same sheet which Dhananjay ji is maintaining, so that you can refer to this. Yeah. So here, I'll just come here. Yeah. Very, very briefly, right? Details are up there, but very briefly for us from the yoga point of view, what are the origins? So, yoga in Upanishads, if you may ask, the Sankhya framework may be coming from Katha Upanishad, and Panchakosha is coming from Taittiriya Upanishad. Definitely there will be a question like that. And Prashna Upanishads, what it has, I've explained that in the above this. And then the four, consciousness states, right, is coming from the Mandukya Upanishad. Sukta, Nidra, Sukta, wakeful, all those four states, right? So those are coming from the Mandukya Upanishad. And importance of Omkara and meditation is there in Katha, Kachandogya, Mandukya Upanishad, right? So here, the important thing for us to remember from the exam point of view is what is there in the Prashna Upanishad, and there are some notes here in detail on what are the questions that is asked. And then, question will come like Shreyas and Preyas is mentioned in Dash Upanishad, like that, okay? So which Upanishad mentions about Shreyas and Preyas, see, like that, okay? And which Upanishad is the, who was the father of Nachiketa? And what is the meaning in the Katha Upanishad? This question was very confusing, and there was a lot of debate in the, when we were writing the exam also, right? If you remember, so there was mention of Katha. In what is the meaning of Katha and Katha Upanishad? Intuitively, it means story, but actually it is distress, I think, in the Upanishadic meaning, right? So like that. And which Upanishad talks about the four boons? Again, Katha Upanishad, right? So this level of questions will come. And another one is, what is the meaning of horse and analogy, the chariot and the horse, right? So again, which Upanishad talks about that, and what are the different elements? What is the horse? What is the chariot? What is the, the charioteer, and what is the road? All that will come. Okay, this kind of, so from the exam point of view, you need to know the summary of where the origins are, especially the Panchakosha, the Katha Upanishad, Prashna Upanishad, Taittiriya Upanishad. Yes, so these things, okay? So I'll go back here. Yeah, so again, as I said, there are around 108 Upanishads, and the principal Upanishads are 13, and these are telling the different other Upanishads. But this is again an interesting information to keep in mind. So maybe Sankhya and Yoga philosophy are originating from around 20 of the Upanishads out of all these 118, right? So here they're listing Yoga Upanishads. I didn't see this like in this way written in the guidebook, but I think from knowledge sake, this is also very interesting to have it at the back of your head, right? So again, the root word, again, they will ask, what is the root word of Upanishad? And again, you need to know it is coming from the root word sad, which means movement, loosening or annihilation. Upa is close or initiated. Ni is sacred. So in summary, it is a sacred knowledge that liberates one from a limited existence, which is passed on to the student, initiated, who is close to the teacher. Okay, so there are so many hidden meanings here, no? So he is telling about Guru Parampara. Again, is telling it is initiated from the student, from the teacher to the student who is initiated, and then it is a secret. So, and which liberates one from the limited existence. It is limitless, you know. So, in this one small word, so many hidden and inner meanings are also there, right? Um, Yeah, so this is again a key aspect. So what Upanishads define at the end is about Brahman. So beneath all names and forms, every manifestation, there is a single superior consciousness, and that is the Brahman. Definitely some question like this will ask. They will ask, as I said, right? Brahman and Atman are explained in Vedas, Rig Veda, like that, you know. You should know that it is Upanishad and Vedanta. So they may not give directly Upanishad, they'll give Vedanta, you know. And realization, what is one's true nature, and what liberates us from the necessary birth and death cycle, and what are the ways to realize this true nature is explained in the Upanishads. Okay, so these are the universal phenomenons that are explained in the Upanishads. Now, again, so this again is important. The three aspect on how you have to learn is Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. And Shravanam is a statement of definition. For example, Prajananam Brahma. Brahman is consciousness. Okay, it is like a definition. And statement of instruction also, like Tattvam Asi, you are that. Okay, this is called Shravanam. Someone says that. Statement of recognition, Mananam, I'm just realizing that I am Atma Brahma. This Atman is Brahman, for example. That is Mananam, okay? And statement of realization or experience is Aham Brahmasmi. I am the Brahman. It is a Nididhyasanam. So here, I mean, generally we learn like Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. So if you remember what is Shravanam, statement of definition or an instruction. Mananam is statement of recognition. I recognize the next stage, and Nididhyasanam is nothing but a statement of experience. Okay, and the approach of Upanishads was again here interesting things was around fascinating and dramatic stories, thought-provoking dialogue, stories told like Yama and Nachiketas in Katha Upanishad, charming poetry with a lot of chandas and grammar and all that, and beautiful and stunning imageries, deep mysticism. See, that is why we need a guru to understand all the hidden meanings that are explained in these Upanishads. Once you read, twice you read, you will not get it. So many hidden meanings will be there. Someone has to decode that to all of us, right? And that is why they in the textbook again they are emphasizing so much on the Guru Parampara, Guru Shishya Parampara, and how it is transferred in the Shruti and Smriti, right? And profound psychological insights and bold declarations, right? In the sense, bold declaration. I am the God, or God is within me, right? That is such a bold declaration. No? Even today, I shouldn't compare, but different religions after that have not done such level of declarations which was done during the time of the Upanishads. And this imagery here, which is again explained, like the five senses, the manas, the buddhi, the atman, is again coming from the Upanishads. Okay, so some question will come from this imagery as well, and this also where there are two birds, right? This imagery also is also coming from the Upanishads. So again, fundamental teachings. Just to summarize and recap: spirituality, spiritual solidarity is in all existence. It is Isha, common to all. No differentiation between human beings, animals, birds, anything. Everyone is divine, and experiential and experimental basis of knowledge, liberating from all dogmas, right? Like it is clearly told that like Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. It is at the end of the day, whatever theory we read, at the end, it has to be an experiential, just like yoga, right? It has to be experiential. I have to experience, I have to practice, I have to meditate to realize the Brahman within me. That's what it says. Okay. And yeah, this we went through. 1 minute. Here. Yeah, correct. So Panchakosha, important philosophy again coming from the Taittiriya Upanishad on the existence of the human personality, and prana and pranayamas coming from the Prashna Upanishad, again key point for us to remember, and the four states of consciousness, chitta, coming from the Mandukya Upanishads, and the importance of Om meditation coming from Katha, Chandogya, Mundaka and Mandukya Upanishads. Okay, so as I said, this is the gist of it. You need to remember from where what is coming, and whatever Vivekananda has told, he said very clearly, whatever I've told it from the Upanishads, right? Whether it is freedom, about freedom, mental freedom, spiritual freedom, and living that supreme whole self, everything is whatever he's told is coming from the Upanishads, he says. Okay, now I will go to the session 4. Yeah, I'll briefly touch upon this because I saw that there is another session on Sankhya philosophy anyways. Yeah. So now the other period that we are coming after the pre-classical is the classical period. And here we come to the Patanjali Yoga Sutras or the Darshanas. Okay. So before the, or rather I shouldn't say before, it is a time when the Dashad Darshanas came into the existence. So they are usually called in pairs: Nyaya Vaisheshika, Samkhya Yoga, Purva Vimamsa Vedanta, or Uttara Vimamsa. Again, this can come like a question. Uttara Vimamsa is also Vedanta, like something like that. Okay, and these are all Astika Darshanas, which believe Vedas as the ultimate authority, and Charvaka, Jainism, Buddhism are the Nastika Darshanas, which does not believe Vedas as the ultimate authority. Again, some question like that will come. What is the definition of Astika or Nastika and things like that? And definitely the origin or the founders of these particular Shed Darshanas will definitely come something like that, right? And this again from the exam, not from the, maybe from the exam point of view, but I thought this is really interesting. All these darshanas had to produce some kind of a sutra or a literature, and the characteristics of the literature has to have these elements, right? So it has to be alpaksharam, which means brevity. It has to be asandigdham, unambiguous. It has to be saravat, pregnant, and it has to be vishvatomukam, which is universal, and it has to be asatobhyam, factual, and it has to be anavadhyam, devoid of error. Now, I find this so interesting because this is so important in everything that we do, even today, whether we are writing a note or a paper or in our day-to-day work also. I think if we keep this in mind, that it has to be precise, crisp, unambiguous, universal, factual, devoid of error, and pregnant, right? If whatever we do, right, and work, if we are, I think this is a fundamental thing to keep in mind, and so nicely explained here, right? So that's why I think Patanjali Yoga Sutras or anything, they're so concise, crisp, but lot of meaning is there in that, and it is universal and unambiguous. Right. So here again, in the book, they have given in the guidebook very little definitions of what each of these is there. But at least you need to know who are the founders of this. Nyaya was from Gautama, and Nyaya Sutra is the text primarily concerned with the conditions of the correct knowledge, logic, and reasoning. So this much you need to remember: logic and reasoning is what is found in the Nyaya Sutra. Okay. And Vaisheshika is by Sage Kannada, and here it is mostly talking about something like atoms, right? Vaisheshika Sutras, quotation of atoms, and particular cells, cosmic, social, religions. So they say about lot of elements, metallurgy, all that is also there in Vaisheshika Sutras. Okay. Yeah, padartha. See, like the padartha dharma sangraha. So elements, materials, and the atoms, all these are sort of very scientific. Maybe the text is there in the Vaisheshika. And then Purva Vimamsa literally means Vimamsa means desire to measure or weigh or understood, is connected to Vedanta. Both are here. What are the key contributions? Uh, is a ritual dealing, okay, prescribing what is injunctions and prohibitions. They may, yeah. So I think this is mostly talking about the rituals and closely related to the Aranyaka Anga of the Upanishads. Okay. And then we come to the Vedanta or Purva Vimamsa. Again, core teachings are what we revised again earlier, about the Jivatma and the Paramatma and the Brahmam, Satyam, Jagat, Mityam. Everything is coming from this Vedanta origin. And then, of course, this is saying from the ontological truth of the Adi Shankara, right? So this is again there in your textbook as who are the founders of Dvaita, Advaita and Vishishtadvaita. So again, that will be there on what are the definitions and what is the meaning of these three philosophies that have emerged. This is not during the Veda Upanishadic period, but on the basis of that, these schools have come up post in 8th, 9th century, I think, AD, right? And then for us as yoga, Samkhya is the important philosophy from which yoga is there, and yoga is got, and the founder is Sage Kapila, and Sankhya as a name itself says, it is the numbers, and it talks about the different elements. Okay, so here I will not go in this detail. What I thought was an interesting interpretation, which is again good from the exam point of view, was this. Okay, so Sankhya mainly talks about the Purusha and the Prakriti. Okay, so Purusha is singular, ultimate, and manifested, and Prakriti is the manifested, and it is having all these gunas. Okay, so Purusha is one side, and Prakriti and all these gunas, Mahatta, Hankara, Sattva, Rajas, Samas, Manas, Indriyas, Janme, Karmendriyas and Jnanendriyas, Tanmatras, Panchabhutas, all these coming in the Prakriti. Okay, so it is evolving like this, and we all are born with all these characteristics. Okay, so the path to become or realize the Purusha is to go in this direction, is to go in the opposite direction and then find the Purusha within you. Okay, and here definitely there will be, I think, some questions. When we were preparing for the exam, there were a lot of questions on the Tanmatras and which are relating to the Panchamahabhutas. So I thought this representation is interesting, and also about Indriyas and which Mahabhutas it is. In Karmendriyas and Jnanendriyas both, and which Panchamahabhutas it is relating to, right? So these are the key points for you to remember from the exam point of view. Okay. Yeah, as I said, yeah, so here what I wanted to show was this one. Yeah, so Purusha is eternal, innumerable consciousness, as we call, intelligent, subjective, static, and no attributes. Okay, so this is the Purusha that is there, the cosmic spirit. And Prakriti is a source of all matter, changing, dynamic. Why changing? Because it has the gunas in it, and non-manifest, and it is one. Okay, and definitely question will come on what is the characteristic of Sattva Guna, Rajas Guna, and Tamas. Okay, real or existence devoid. Sometimes I think color also will come, white, red, and black. So you can just remember what are the characteristic of each of these gunas, and it will not be so straightforward. They'll ask something like confusing. Yeah. Anger is Rajas or Tamas, something like that. Those kind of questions will come. And yeah, so I think I briefly explained the model from the other one, which I took. Yeah, so this is what is the Sankhya model that you have. And so this is what it says, the dissolution. So to attain that Purusha or to go to the pure consciousness, you have to work like peeling of the layers of your onion. You have to peel each and everything and then go towards realizing that Purusha within you. Okay. So this is the gist of the the philosophy till the Vedic period, Upanishadic period, and after that, I think you anyway had the lecture from the, you have some lectures which are there on the Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, which is coming in the classical period, and then post-classical period is the Hatha Yoga and introduction to Hatha Yoga you already have. That is a post-classical period, and then I saw another one on the modern yogas and the life sketches of yoga masters, which is nothing but the modern yoga, what we call as. Okay, so now I will come to the definition of yoga. My presentation here is not very great, but I just copy pasted from different sources. So this will be definitely, there will be a lot of questions on this. So etymologically, yoga comes from the root word yuj. Yuj means to join, bind, or attach or connect. So one of the important definition is yujjate anena iti yogaha. That which unites is called as a yoga. Okay, and okay, revisiting this again, it is coming from the one of the ancient Indian philosophy called Shaddarshanas, and Sankhya and Yoga are closely related. Most of the philosophy of Yoga is similar to that of Sankhya, except that in the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, we come again and again saying that there is Ishvara, right? So he says, Tasya Vachaka, Pranavaha Tasya Vachakaha. Ishvara is nothing but the Omkara is what he says, right, in the Patanjali Yoga Sutras. So that is the main difference in Samkhya and Yoga, where Sankhya does not say, it says Ishvara may not be there, but in Yoga it says. And Nyaya by Gautama, Vaisheshika by Kannada, Vimamsa by Jaimini, and Vedanta by Badaranya. Okay. Now again, this I'll not revisit this, we said. Okay. Now other definitions of yoga is coming from Yajnavalkya. Samyoga yogo ityukto jivatma paramatmahana, which means union of jivatma with paramatma is called yoga. This is one of the common definition which we always mention even in the classes, and this is coming from Yajnavalkya. And other definition of yoga, of course, from Patanjali is Chitta Svritti Nirodha. And yoga is restraining the mind from all the vrittis. And of course, what happens if you practice yoga? Tadadrishta Swarupe Avasthanam, then the seer is established in his true nature. That is what you are going back. If you see from the Sankhya model, you are going back and establishing yourself as the Purusha. And the important thing, again, it will come in the exam or even in the oral, or for all of us to know, is the definitions. So see, there was Upanishads, there were Vedas, there were all these philosophies, right? Or rather, before all of that, the first text of yoga is the Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so it is the first sort of proper text of yoga, because every chapter of Bhagavad Gita, as you know, tells about one kind of yoga, right? And then it says at the end, Upanishadsu Brahma Sutrayam Bhagavad Gita, it says all that yoga, it says, it gives that proper text. If you ask, first one will be the Bhagavad Gita, and then you can say it is Patanjali Yoga Sutra and all that. And the important shloka is the 48th shloka in chapter 2, where it says, Yogastha Kuru Karmani Sangam Tyaktva Dhananjaya Siddha Siddhyo Samabhutva Samatvam Yoga Uchate. So Samatvam Yoga Uchate, equanimity is called yoga. It may come like with chapter in Bhagavad Gita, like that. And other, again, the chapter 250 shloka, Buddhi Jasva yoga karmasu kaushalam. Yoga is skill in action. Okay, another definition which is there in Bhagavad Gita, which I think I like this one very much, because it says everything should be in moderation, and then you're sort of, you destroy the old pain within you, and that is what is yoga. Yuktahara viharasya yukta chestasta karmasu युक्तस्वप्नावबोधस्य योगो भवति दुःखः योगो भवति दुःखः. If you are doing everything in moderation, eating, recreation, temperate actions, regulated sleep and wakefulness, yoga becomes a destroyer of pain. So these definitions will definitely be asked. This is again coming in 6th chapter, shloka 17. And other definition that is coming from Kathopanishad is tam yoga miti manyante stiram indriyadharanam apramatstadatha bhavati yogaho hi prabhavavopayaho, which means upayaho. Stable and restraining the senses, stable state of mind, body and intellect is yoga. Okay, tam yoga miti manyate. Restraining the senses, balanced state of the intellect, and stabilizing and detaching from the various objects, the person achieves paramagati. Okay, this is coming from the Kathopanishad. And important definition, definitely this will come. It has come, I think, many times. Even for us L3 it was there. Who was, I mean, from which this thing is mana prasamana upayaha yogaha. Yoga is the skill to calm down the mind. Is coming from Yoga Vashishta. Okay, and one other, this we visited. This is Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Yogaschitta vritti nirodha tadadrishta swarupe avasthanam vritti sarupyam itaratraha. Otherwise, it confirms. If you don't practice yoga or don't find yourself within you, then you will otherwise conforms to different. You will think something else is yourself, right? That is what it means. And quickly running through this, this is coming from the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, 8 limbs of the yoga. And what are these? Each of these will definitely, you need to know what are the 5 yamas, 5 niyamas, what is the meaning of asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi, right? So this they will definitely ask, like they'll give 5 yamas and they'll ask 4 here and 1 something else, you know, and then mix and match and then ask questions on these. And again, this may also come. There are only 3 sutras that talk about asana in Patanjali Yoga Sutras, and these are the 3 sutras that is there, 46, 47, and 48 in chapter 1. Okay. Now there are 6 streams of yoga. I mean, earlier, few years ago, we never used to classify mantra yoga as one of them, but or hatha yoga also. When I studied it a long time back, it was only 4. Now we are saying 6, which is also the mantra yoga and the hatha yoga, in addition to jnana, karma, bhakti, and raja. Now again, the thing here, the karma yoga, jnana yoga, bhakti yoga, raja yoga, 4 streams are again deriving from the Bhagavad Gitas. Okay. Yeah. So more or less, I think, I don't know whether I did the justice, but I sort of went through quickly the origins of the yoga from the Vedas, Upanishad, key teachings from the Upanishads, which are the Upanishads that you need to remember and what are the key messages from them. And then etymologically, a definition, root word of all of these, and the definitions of the different philosophies, Shaddarshanas that we have, and the founders of them. And then different streams of yoga that is there. Now, what they will definitely ask is like, Shama, Dhamma, Uparati, Shat Sampatti. If you open the textbook now, if everyone has a textbook, I'll quickly run through some of these which I didn't make the text, right? So I'll stop slide share and yeah. I'll stop slide share and so if you have the guidebook with you, in the streams of yoga, there will be some questions on Shat Sampatti, and there will be Navavida Bhakti. What are these Navavida Bhaktis that is there? And then the qualities of Bhaktas, which is important. And yeah, what is Kirtanam, Archanam? Again, that is Navavida Bhakti that comes. And the karmas, Krishna Akarma, Shukla Karma, Krishna Karma, these kind of. Okay. Yeah. Is that okay, Dhananjay ji? Anything have I missed? I didn't go through the concept of chakras and panchakoshas and all because I thought that will be covered in other talks that you have are having, right? Yeah. So I'm sure I didn't do a lot of justice because this is very concise 1 hour and it's not as a lot of time to tell. But I will just wait for your feedback, and we're just about, I think, 5 minutes to 7. Yeah.
That was wonderful, Cece.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Taken everything very well.
Okay. Thank you, Shyamji. Thank you, Shyamji. Is Dhananjay around, or I thought he came back or he left the meeting? I don't know. Okay. So all the best for your exam, and if you have the guidebook, I know it is a lot of revision. I will add my study doc also in the spreadsheet which Dhananjay has shared also, right? So I'll just add this here, okay? Reference karke. Yeah. Okay, if we don't have any more discussion, I think then we can just say all the best to you. Dhananjay, any questions, any comments, feedback? You're on mute if you're talking. Thank you, Archana ji. I'm not getting the message from Dhananjay if we end the meeting. So all of you have passed the practical exam?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. Okay.
Dhananjay ji is showing here, but I do not know he's online.
Okay, then I think I'm not getting the message from Dhananjay. It is almost 7 o'clock. I think we can end the meeting. We can just do the Shanti Mantra and then end the meeting. Sit straight. Close your eyes. Palms at the heart center. Drop your shoulders. Relax your shoulders. Observe your breath. Focus on the point between your eyebrows. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु. Please, thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity. All the best for your exams.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you,
it
ma'am.
was
Thank you. Dhananjay ji, thank
it was
you.
a really nice session. Please, if anyone has any questions, please you can ask. Just unmute yourself and please ask the question.
Yeah. I waited for a few minutes. No one. If anyone has any questions, you can chat or you can ask. Unmute and ask.
मैम इससे संबंधित एमसीक्यू का जो क्वेश्चंस होता है क्या वो मिलेगा हम सबको?
Sorry.
वो शॉर्ट क्वेश्चंस
या वो वाला क्वेश्चंस जो मैंने नोट्स में मेरा एक्सेल शीट मैंने शेयर किया ना, वो वाला मैंने वो स्टडी ग्रुप डॉक में आई हैव रिटन दैट. ओके, सो वो वाला will have.
या जो
Okay,
हम लोग
thank
ने
you
नया
very
ग्रुप
much.
बनाया धनंजय सर, उस ग्रुप में मिल जाएगा क्वेश्चंस?
Questions? No, I don't have the questions. I just
my
sent the notes.
हाँ, yeah, send to me. मैं इस ग्रुप में डाल देता हूँ. I'll just share in the group.
ओके सर, थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू मैम.
Thank you. Shall we close, Dhananjay ji?
Hello.
Yeah, shall we close? I asked. I think people are leaving in minutes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Thank you all for attending.
Yeah,
Thank you, Pushpa ji.
Thank you.
For
Thank
the
you
nice
for the
session.
opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you. Yeah. Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Thank you all.
sir.
Bye.
Hey, I want to tell thanks. How to tell? ఫాస్ట్ అయిపోయింది గబగబా థ్యాంక్స్ చెప్పాలి నేను ఎట్లా మెసేజ్ ఆడొచ్చింది ఎక్కడ ప్రెస్ చేసు ఎక్కడ